welcome back to Miracles Happen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to see you. It's been almost exactly 1 year.
Yeah, I just realized that actually in my Facebook memories. It was like, oh, podcast is live. I'm like, oh, it's been a year.
Yeah. Oh, it came up in your face. That's so cool. Yeah, I just looked at it because I wanted to point people back to the episode that we did for people who are 40 and over.
Yeah.
Like your specialty, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, April 25th is actually when it was published, and that happens to be my birthday. So,
aha, nice.
Special.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who haven't heard the episode with Andrea, it is episode 39. I wish it was episode 40 because that would make sense.
Right? I know. That would oh well. You'll feel like a 39-year-old when you watch it.
Yes. So Andrea is just reading her brief bio here. She is a holistic fertility expert and a Reiki master, and she's an author. Oh, look what I got.
Oh, yay. Awesome.
By the time this is aired, I will be using Andrea's book for a giveaway during National Fertility Awareness Week 2020, but by the time this is aired, it will already be given away. So go get yours. Go get yours.
Thank
It's
you.
awesome. I just started reading the beginning, and I'm like, oh my God, we're saying the same thing.
Right. No, I know. When I was reading your book, I'm like, yep.
Same thing. So she's a holistic fertility expert, Reiki master, and an author specializing in mind-body approach to fertility. She uses a combo of Reiki, intuition, and mindset coaching to help folks move through emotional and physical blocks to conception. And obviously, by the title of this podcast episode, you'll know that we are talking about intuition today. And I consider you a giant expert in that field. So I'm really happy to begin talking with you about that specifically. So I think that there's so much, folks don't realize how powerful they actually are. And when they tune into their own intuition, it's like people look for answers outside of themselves rather than tuning in. And I think that it's really important that people realize how powerful they are with their own intuition. So if we're being willing to chat about it. I should note, this is evergreen content, but we are in the middle of the coronavirus, so I am on my bedroom floor. Y'all might hear a dog barking or two, and we're just trying to make do in these weird times, right? It's kind of odd. This is being recorded in April of 2020. But if you're listening to this 10 years from now,
we made it. We're fine.
We're okay. Okay. So if we could just get started on intuition, Andrea, I'm curious from your point of view, just a definition. What do you consider intuition to be?
For me, intuition is, so our brain, and I talk about this in the book a little bit, our brain is sort of split into, there's the intuition side, and then there's the brain fight or flight side that runs the show most of the time. And for me, intuition is, I define as like a knowing. You don't have to guess if you're right or not. It's just a, yep, that's true, or nope, it's not. So even if, because a lot of times, especially with fertility, there's such urgency around this, like around what's not in my control and timing and all of that. And so sometimes when we come across something, we're like, oh, maybe this will be my thing. And a good sort of like, I'm probably dating myself by using this reference, but Cliff Notes, like cheat sheet, Cliff Notes, like this sort of like cheat sheet to this is if you're feeling urgent about something, that's not your intuition. So even if you're about to be murdered in the street by gang members, your intuition is not going to be like, your intuition is going to be like, go that way now. It's never more excited than that, whether it's good or bad. So it's this knowing. And like I often tell my clients, when I met my husband after first date, it was like marrying, done, next. Like there was no guessing. And we all sort of have glimmers of that, I think, you know, in terms of getting a weird vibe about going down a certain street, or a person we meet, we just can't explain it, but we have a weird thing. That's intuition. It's not panic. It's not FOMO. It's not urgency. It's just, yep, that's true, or nope, it's not. So it's like this inner knowing, I guess, is probably the simplest way to, for me anyway, to describe it.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Well, that's how I see it too. And I suppose many other folks like us do see the same thing.
Yeah.
I find that intuition is quick. You're exactly what you said. There's no, I don't know. Is that true? It's like, you just know.
Yeah.
You just know. So, can you say, I mentioned before, we talked a lot about fertility at 40 plus for your last interview last year, and we talked specifically your work with Reiki and energy healing. And I wonder how you use intuition specifically with Reiki. How does that work?
Yeah. So Reiki has sort of become just the means by which I get the information. So like when I'm working on somebody, the Reiki, like we talked about last time, is, for me, I sort of liken to acupuncture without the needles. It's this clearing out the crap, energizing. But while that's happening, I'm getting intuitive hits on each area, which just means that I get a visual and a feeling together that sort of give me an indication of what's subconsciously going on with the person. Because most of my clients, I don't know if you notice this with your clients, but almost all of my clients are super type A and driven and like get her done kind of people. And so when we run up against an obstacle, where like our programming is to just be like, just push through it, just keep going, just keep beating your head on the same wall. And we're just not taught to listen to intuition anymore. And so when we're trying to deal with problems, we're like, yeah, no, I dealt with that. Nope, next. And we don't think that there's anything else there. So there's the part of the iceberg above the water that you can see, that's the conscious, and then the part below that's ginormous that we can't see, where, you know, past experiences, traumas, you know, all of that is stored. So I use it in my work as a tool to, you know, I hear what they're telling me on the surface, but then I ask in each area. So each of the chakras that I work on with the Reiki, you know, each chakra represents a sort of different aspect of you. And so within those parameters, based on the visual that's coming up and the feeling, it kind of lets me know symbolically. It's not always like this person had this happen at this point, but to give you an example, like sometimes I'll see, like there was one client who I couldn't get if she was either 6 or 7. So I saw 6-7, but then I saw her draw a line in the sand with her foot and step over it. And then she frowned. So for me, it's not that she actually did that in her life, but that's an indication that once I crossed this line, something else was different. Something was not okay. And so then I would go back to her and say, okay, I'm getting around age 6 to 7. Something happened where all of a sudden it wasn't okay. And she said, yeah, that's when my father died. So it can sort of crack open. It's not going to be a very literal translation, but symbolically within my, parameters or my vernacular or my knowledge, they'll give me images that will convey it in, or at least enough of an idea that I can get it across to the person where they can go, oh, like I thought I dealt with that, or oh, but that was years ago. But it's something that is in fact still living in the body that needs to be dealt with, you know?
Yeah. So you talk about the energy of a memory being still living there in the body.
Yeah.
And that's causing, okay. Wow.
You know,
you use the word, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, we deal with things to the extent that we can at the time, and then we have to keep going because we have to keep going because life doesn't stop, you know? And so we like deal with it enough to be able to move on, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have, you know, unfortunately we're like onions. And I know a lot of people listening are like, but I've literally peeled 82 layers of this freaking onion. When am I done with the onion? But it just might be that you have a couple more layers left to go. That's all, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, sometimes, interestingly, I find that people feel, it's weird, but people feel a little bit of safety with the holding on to those because they're fair and it's, I want to stay layered, I want to stay protected, but
Yeah.
it's impeding on things. So then it
Right.
becomes like,
And that's
yeah,
what that fight or
wow.
flight response is.
Yep.
You know, like that fight or flight response is like, think of all things that could happen to you, cover your bases, and like break your fall, hope for the best. So it's, the brain's trying to do you a solid, trying to help you out, but it really is keeping you in this loop of lack by hanging on to it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's scary to let go and allow that shit to roll through you. It's just really hard.
Yeah.
So, so for you, it sounds like when you get intuitive hits, they are symbols that match your own sort of experiences and how you maybe translate them or convey them to the client. Then is just sort of a neutral, and then they tell you specifically things.
Yeah, it comes up in all kinds of different ways. Sometimes it's pop culture references, which is fun, but it's also a little weird if somebody didn't see Star Wars or like whatever reference is going on. Like, did you see the scene when this happened? So sometimes it's animals, you know, for example, like a dolphin, for example. If I see a dolphin come up, dolphins live in water. Water represents emotion. Dolphins are super playful. They can actually attack sharks. They've saved other animals from sharks. So they're super strong, but they're super playful and they're super present. And so sometimes if I see a dolphin come up, that means that we need to like lighten up a little bit. We need to like be a little more playful, find a little more space. Same thing with an otter is the same, like everything's fine. So there are certain animals that come up repeatedly. If that comes up, then I know, okay, that's what this person needs to do. Sometimes it's things that have happened to me specifically that they're like, this is a correlation here. So it really is different. Every once in a while, like I had the other day, so I was seeing pink peonies and she's like, oh my God, that's literally my favorite flower. I just bought some yesterday. So sometimes it is direct. Sometimes it is actually the thing, but that's rare. That's like, you know, maybe once every couple of months that'll happen. But it really is meant to be more symbolic. Because I think when you're dealing with intense things, for somebody to say, you are dealing with this, deal with it, that can be a little like jarring to the person who's hanging on to the thing. So if we're like, it feels like this, it's looking like this is what's happening, and can you relate to this feeling? Then it's a little bit easier for people to kind of like ease into that, you know, ease into releasing it, you know?
Yeah, gentle approach to inviting a topic in.
Yeah,
What's up?
exactly.
Needs to be.
Because it's not here to eat you, you know?
Yeah. So it quiets the fear a little. It's just a curiosity.
Yeah.
Other than.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think about, and do you do any work with your clients? What do you think about people accessing their own intuition, and is there a reason why folks would want to be able to do that?
Yeah, you know, I think there's a big misconception out there that some people are intuitive and some people are not. Everyone can be intuitive if they practice. Some people, you know, like me, it showed up at age 2 when I saw clouds in my room, which turned out to be my grandfather. So some people it starts very early, but that doesn't mean that just because you're not like getting stuff, you know, on a regular basis, that you don't have intuition. Everybody does. Everybody has their own internal compass guidance system. And really for the last at least 100 and change years, that's sort of been beaten out of us, you know, to listen to our intuition as a valid barometer of how we're doing, you know. But what I've found, especially in fertility work, because so much of this process feels out of your hands. How and when this happens is out of your hands, you know? And so we tend to think that everything is, or because we've been trying for 5 years, that obviously we can't do it. So here, IVF, here supplement, here diet, external thing outside of myself. You give me the thing. And so we hand over all of our capability. And where that becomes a problem is that from a law of attraction perspective, like energy attracts like energy. So if I don't feel capable, if I feel less than, if I feel a failure, if I feel like I don't know what the hell I'm doing, that's not the same vibration or frequency as where the baby is. So it is actually vital to learn how to plug into your intuition, because that inner pilot light that we eventually need to turn into a bonfire, that's the thing that's going to get you pregnant. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be you. It's not going to be a supplement. It's not going to be a doctor. This is your bus. You're driving it, and you can let people on your bus for it to be an aid. You can let a coach or a therapist or a supplement or whatever on your bus, but it's your bus. And you really have to own that. And that's so hard when you feel like, but I can't do it. So I often start with my clients with things that have nothing to do with the baby as far as intuition goes. Like, for example, I was just telling somebody this the other day. Guess who is going to email you next? The next time you look at the clock, what time is it? Because if you're wrong, who the fuck cares? It's a clock, so you can get yourself trusting yourself more. Because I think at least a lot of my clients, and even when I started really actively developing my intuition, there was a lot of, is this my imagination or is this my intuition? Do I just want this to happen, or am I afraid this will happen, or whatever? So there's a lot of questioning going on, which is totally normal. Everybody goes through that. But the good thing is you actually need your imagination to access your intuition. So when you do things like this, like, okay, I'm going to go meet my friend for lunch and she's going to wear a green shirt. Holy crap, I was right today. Okay, so those little things like that can kind of start to build your trust in yourself a little bit. So then maybe you go over to, does it feel good for me to do this IUI next month? How does that feel in my body? And your body will tell you. You and your body have been like disconnected for a while, right? But your body, you'll either feel like shrink wrap, or you'll feel like, like expansive or chills. Your body will tell you, but I think it is good to start with things that don't matter right now, that are just like, it's 12:34 right now. 12:33, so close. But that, I can, within a couple of minutes at this point, do that just because I've been doing it for a while. But I think it's just important that everybody can do it. And not only can you do it, but it's necessary if you want to move out of where you are. That belief in yourself, that has to be the driving force, the magnet to what you want,
Yeah, that's the part that I hope to drive home to folks, because yep, you have this capability, and yep, you can practice it, and it's actually really fun in the beginning, especially when you do things that don't, technically matter, like who cares what color shirt my friend's gonna wear at lunch, right? It's fun. But when you get that flavor and you get that sensation of what it's actually like to experience it, and to know that, oh shit, I actually did connect with that, and I didn't know who was going to tell me next and who's going to email me next, and then you can feel the instant knowing of that thing. And when you get your next piece of information from your fertility doc, or from your acupuncturist, or whomever, your therapist, or your Reiki master, then you'll know it doesn't feel right. Nope, doesn't feel right. Or yep, that's right on. Yep, that's my next move. You'll just know, you'll know, and you'll be able to help guide your practitioners to help you then further, right?
That is the thing. Guide your practitioners, not the other way around. Like, yes, obviously you have to listen to your practitioners, because what you've been doing hasn't been working. So it needs to be both. But we have a severe white coat syndrome going on, at least in this country. But I think in my clients that are across the globe, they tell me the same thing. Yes, they've gone to school for 10 years. Yes, they know a lot. Do they know your circumstances? No. Have they asked you about your relationship, your work scenario, your past traumas? No, they have not. Are those things affecting your body? Yes, they are. So we forget that they are working for us. I'm working for you. Doctor is working for you. So it has to be a collaborative thing, not submitting, here's my capability, please make me a baby. It has to be like, I'm doing this and I would like your help. I would like your feedback. And, oh, this resonates with me from my RE. This resonates for me from my acupuncturist, whatever. And you have to cherry pick. You have to, like, the work that I do is like 5 different things that I've gone, yep, that resonates for me, but that part of that person's work does not. So I'm just taking that, and I'm taking this, and I'm taking that, and I make my own soup. You have to make your own soup.
That, or you get to your own soup.
Yeah.
You don't have to eat things you don't want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you want to move yourself forward, something has to shift in terms of I just feel like intuition is so related to capability, and capability is really what we're shooting for. If you don't feel capable of making a human, that becomes your truth, that you're not. It's not a true statement on its own that you're not capable, but if that belief is still there. So that's why, like, when you are building that intuition, like you said, having that immediate, yep, nope, like that knowing, that there's relief and there's peace in that, where we go, I know on paper it looks like I should do this, but I feel this. And that feeling brings me peace. That's what's important. And the more you lead from that place, the easier it will get. It will feel a little clunky and a little wonky at first. That's normal. It is for everybody. Certainly was for me. And we have to be okay with, like, it looking a little weird, but there's that saying, no mud, no lotus, like we have to be okay being in the mud for a little bit so that the lotus can happen,
And shoot, even if, I'm like, you have been doing this, intuition stuff for a long time. And during my infertility experience prompted the intuition stuff. Yeah. But even now, I'm like, I'm wrong sometimes. And that's okay. Then you have to be okay screwing up.
Yep. And that's the sort of underlying thing, is to know that no matter how this slices, you're going to be okay. You've survived 100% of the things that you have encountered up till this point. You will survive this. So when we have the safety of knowing that cushion, then it's like, all right, now let's play. Let's see what I can feel into. Let's see what does. So we're not putting that urgency that I was mentioning before. I've got to be right. No, you don't. Can you be? Sure. Let's see, from a place of curiosity instead of fear, Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're accessing the intuition, you are right more often than you are wrong.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So good. So big time motivation for folks to access their intuition. I hope they do it.
Yeah.
Do you have any to share about having folks moving over to accessing their intuition? Do you have any memories of folks who have do that?
Yeah, there's a couple that I'm thinking of. One, again, like I said, most of my clients being of the type A persuasion, of which I am a half breed of that. I am I need a list kind of person, and also hippie in the woods. So I get it. I get both sides of it. But most of my clients are very much like, what's the next thing I can do? 9th round of IVF, back to back. Let's go. They're operating from here up and not connected to their body. So one of them who had multiple miscarriages, she was pregnant. We're all excited, and she's about to go for her first scan. And she's like, oh my God, there's like, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. And she started spotting. And she's like, see, it's happening again. It's happening again. And you can't blame her, because she's had it happen twice before. Of course, that's super scary. So we went in, and first we did a little bit of mindset work around it. Like, what if spotting were, which it is, a normal part of a first pregnancy? What if it weren't the same thing? How would you feel? What would you do? What would you think? And then putting the hand on the belly and just asking him, how are you doing? And she's like, I can't explain to you. I just felt like, whoosh, like, I'm fine. Like it's like that annoying thing that people tell you, when you know, like when you meet your person, but it's true. But she's like, I just knew he was fine. And in the meantime, I just visualized a strong heartbeat, and I just kept connecting to him. And she went, and he was fine. And he is now my nephew. But if she had continued to go down that spiral of, oh my God, it's happening again. That's it. That would have been it. And it's okay if that's what did happen. If that's what happens on your journey, that's okay. But she was able to turn it around by plugging into her intuition. Another one was somebody who's currently pregnant now, who's 45, was flat out told by her IVF doctor, this is not going to happen for you. Even if we do IVF, this is not going to happen for you. So she visualized, one of the exercises I have my clients do is visualize the you of 2 years from now. So the you that has figured it out, you're either pregnant or you have the baby, you know way more than you did, and visualize that version of you standing in front of you. Is her hair different? Is she dressed different? Is she pregnant? Is she holding the baby? And then you invite that version of you to sit down in alignment with you. Obviously, you're not going to become that you of 2 years from now, right that second, but she is vibrating at a higher frequency than you are. So you will feel a little bit of tingly whoosh, like, ooh, okay. And there's some relief in that, knowing that I do figure it out. I can see that I figure it out, and feeling that brings, again, that peace, that relief. So she did that, and I think she's 30 weeks now. So it doesn't have to, like, following your intuition or cracking open doesn't mean you have to become a medium. That's not what this is about. It's just about trusting yourself, because energetically, if you're like, I'm okay, whether it's this month or 6 months from now, in the grand scheme of things, when the baby's crawling around on the floor, who cares? I just know that I'm going to do this, that's the important thing.
Yeah. And actually something that you said just then triggered my next question, is that even when shit does go our way, I find people still have trouble trusting their intuition.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for big decisions. Do you find that too? And how do you help folks through that?
It is a foreign concept to people. Sometimes people think it's a fluke, like that you guessed, like you just guessed right or whatever. But I think what I kind of remind them of is, like, how did it feel when you trusted yourself for that moment? What did your body do? If you can go back to that place, what did your body do? Did it feel expansive? Did it feel buzzy? Was it just a knowing? And then how do you feel when you think, I've got to figure it out? Like, I can't listen to the intuition. I've got to figure it out. What does your body do? Shrink wrap, stressed, crunched. Which one feels better? That one. Okay. So it is going to be a work in progress. You are going to fall off the wagon and get back on a few times. It's not that once you listen to your intuition once, it's all bunnies and meadows and rainbows and everything's fine. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. Just like with anything, whenever you're learning a language, you don't know how to speak Greek just by looking at the first vocabulary lesson, like, it's going to take a minute. So I think the most important thing is to be patient with yourself. Your brain, when I say your brain, I mean that fight or flight, freaking out part of your brain that runs the show. That's been following the same neural pathways for a long time, for some of you years, in certain patterns. So to think that one little intuition thing is going to stop the brain, it's not really realistic. But the more we do that, the more the brain's going to slow down, the safer the brain's going to feel. And so you just go to those kind of scary, questioning places less. So I think it's just about being compassionate with your brain, almost like your brain is a toddler. I get why we're scared right now, but look at that. I made that decision. I felt good about that. That feels better. Let's go over here, So I think it's a process, but I think it's an important one. And it's something, especially, in the COVID of it all right now, we're at home, we're sort of being forced to go inward. You might as well use this time even though this is going to air later, but there's always time to go inward. And when the outward stuff we're doing isn't working, that's kind of a good indication that we got to go in. And it's okay if we're not good at it. But that's the thing. Most of my clients, being type A, are good at everything. So when they're not good at this, or it doesn't flow, they're like, I don't want to do it, or I can't, or whatever. But I promise you can. Everybody can. It's just going to take some practice, and it might take different ways. You might read something that clicks for you. You might do a meditation if you're not a meditation-y person, or like people who are intuitive. Like, I get it different ways. One of my friends actually audibly hears things. I feel things. I'm what's called clairsentient. So I just get feelings about things. Some people visually see things. So everybody's different. Some people can do like the writing, through journaling, and like sort of channeling. Everybody's different. So if you try something and if you're like, this isn't working, don't force it, revisit it. And if it's just not your thing, then move to another thing. But I think definitely starting with things that have nothing to do with fertility. Yeah. It's probably the best way to start. Yeah.
Oh, I loved all those things. What do you, it just popped in my head to, and that's probably an intuition, right? Think about dreams. People paying attention to what comes through in dreams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's, so dreams tend to be broken into different categories. So there's the dreams that are just sort of acting out your brain's fears and just sort of like vomiting them out. And then there are dreams that are sort of like, here's where you should go. Like, here's maybe what the next path is. A lot of times, obviously, that comes in terms of visuals or weird dreams, but there's symbolism in them. For example, like if you have a dream that you're on a train that's picking up speed, or a train that's not moving. Trains tend to represent journeys that we're on. So if our train isn't moving, that probably means that we're stuck. Or if our train is moving fast, that means like we're on the right track, literally. So there's dreams like that. And then there's also visit dreams. So like, you know, loved ones or ancestors. When you have those dreams where you're like, I swear to God, that person was here, they were. That wasn't just a dream. So there's different sort of categories of dreams. And I know some people get freaked out when they have a bad dream where they're like, I dreamt that I was bleeding. Does that mean that's going to happen? No, it doesn't. That's just your fear playing out. Because if you are having, Cliff Notes again, cheat sheet, if you are having fear about it, it's not true. The actual thing is not true. It might be just letting you know there's something you need to work on. And that's the thing. Whenever we feel uncomfortable or scared or whatever, all it is an indication that there's something we need to work on. It does not mean things are going to fall apart. It does not mean you're not going to figure it out. So if you have those kind of scary dreams, like I would just sort of ask whatever your higher power situation is, God, universe, purple cat in the sky, like whatever your thing is. Here's this dream. What do I need to know about this? And so either do some writing about it or sit with it, just with your hand on your heart, play some music or have some sage or something else that's getting your senses quiet. What does this dream want to tell me? Instead of, oh my God, what does it mean? Because we don't want to go into it with that sort of energy. Any dream that we have, it's never to knock us off our track or to tell us we can't do something. Never. It's just that we might have something to work on. And when we can look at it as that, it's like, oh, all right, well, that's good. The type A little part of me that wants something to work on, you just got it. Go work on it. You know?
Okay, good. That's useful. I remembered that I had a recurring dream during our fertility work or our journey that we were on vacation and it was time to go, and there was so much shit just scattered around everywhere that we had to pack. Mm-hmm. And I was left to do it by myself. I had that dream over and over and over and over. Yeah. And now I'm like, okay, now I know what that's about. And
got it.
With this thing, the dream has resurfaced, and I know it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. I'm doing too much. I need to clear some space. And
exactly.
Yeah.
What's actually important to pack and take with you. Like there's what we think is important and what actually is important. Yeah. It's so good to recognize that it's just an indicator. That's it. That's all it is, you know, and I can then have a chance to redirect my thoughts around that, you know?
Yes. And that's where we're kind of circling back to what the intuitive hits are. They're coming from this very matter-of-fact place. It's either yes or no, or left or right. It's fear-based. Angst.
No, it never is. If you're feeling fear about it, it's not your intuition. Like reset, take a walk around the block, reset, because that's not your intuition. Yeah.
You have some great tips. I love it. People have some takeaways for today to try out. Anything else you want to add around intuition that I've missed?
I think it's just important that fertility in general, I mean, obviously, if you're listening to us, you're open to other stuff. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But I think in general, because the medical community is like, your age is this, therefore you're screwed, and maybe we can help you, but we'll see. And they're not taking into account the mindset component or your intuition or your capability. You're not going to get that validation from them. And because we're so used to putting all of our eggs in that basket, the reason we feel fear is because we don't have control over it anymore. And they might not have control over it. So we never really feel safe. We never really get out of that fight or flight moment. So I think it's important that when you go into a doctor's appointment, either to get results or meeting a new doctor or whatever, sometimes it's helpful to visualize like a little force field around you, like white or gold light, like a dome around you. And you set the intention for whatever's for your highest good can come in, you know, so again, ancestors, God, universe, whatever your deal is. Whatever's for my highest good can get in, whatever's not stays out. It just kind of bounces off of my little dome. And I set the intention to observe without absorbing, because it's so easy, especially the type A part of us that's like really into numbers. When they're like, you have a 5% chance, that goes right there if you're not ready for it, you know? So you can then, when you have your little force field up, you can say, okay, this is this person's opinion from their perspective. And frankly, sidebar, statistics are skewed, BTW, because of the white coat syndrome. It's chicken or the egg. Can I really not do it, or can I not do it because I've been told I can't do it, you know? And because the brain is sending orders to the body, right? If you're brain dead, nothing's happening to your body. So brain is sending orders to the body. So to think the brain is not involved here doesn't make sense, you know, and they're not taking this into account. So that's where your work comes in, and why the intuition is so important, because you have to have that inner knowing that you can do this. You don't have to know how the fuck you're going to do it. You don't have to know that, because that's not your job, luckily. When we're manifesting, the how, when, and where it happens is up to God, universe, thing in the sky. The what, though, is up to you. The universe can't do the what part. You have to do the what. And when I say the what, I mean, I deserve to be a mom. I'm allowed to do this. I am capable of doing this. So whether that's a mantra or whatever to kind of help you root into that, or the force field when you go into the doctor's appointments, but it's so important that, or you meditate before you go in or whatever, it's important that you get yourself in this, I can do it. And they can say what they want, and I can take what resonates and I can leave what doesn't, but I'm doing this. You know, it's so important, especially when you're in a medical situation, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So what I'm hearing from all that loveliness is that when one sets an intention and then lets go of the process and just goes, okay, here's my intention, have at it, universe. That's part of the trusting and part of the listening to one's intuition. That's what I find that when you set that intention, here's my end state, this is where I want to be, my 2-year state, right? And now I'm gonna let it go. And then when you tune into your intuition, you'll always know what comes next.
Exactly.
Yeah, you'll always be guided.
Yeah. And that's such a great point for the type A's of us all, to be like, we need to know the next 72 steps we're gonna have to take. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't. You take a step and the next square on the floor lights up and you step there. It will organically unfold, you know? You don't have to know. And I think that's why a lot of us go through this journey, is because we would never just like work on a bunch of root shit on a Thursday, because it's ugly. Losing control is uncomfortable, you know? And who wants to do that? So when we have something that we really want, like a child, we're willing to work on our shit, you know? And this is, you know, when you have that end goal in mind, it's not that you can't keep putting your intention toward the thing. It's not like we're just like, I want a baby, go to sleep for a while, take care of it, universe. But it is a class project. Think of it as a class project with the universe. And the universe is doing the how, when, and where, which is really nice of the universe. And you're going to do the what and the why. And you can't try to do the universe's part of the project. You cannot try to manipulate the how, when, and where. They're taking care of that bar graph. You do your pie chart, you know? And trust. And like you said, that's the hardest part, I think, of this whole process, is to trust that the universe knows what the hell it's doing.
Yeah.
You do your part of the project, it will do its part, you know?
Yep. Yeah. And I often tell people when they attempt to pigeonhole those 72 steps, the universe is like, okay, it's going to take longer though, man, because now I have to do this and this and this. But if you give me free license, I'm going to make this shit come to you faster than you ever thought possible. Because now I have all these options.
Yeah, and we have such blinders on, I think, about what is possible, either because of what we read on Dr. Google, or we, you know, whatever our doctors have said, or horror stories friends have had, or family. I can't tell you how many people are like, well, my mom had a hard time, so I'll have a hard time.
Yes.
Really? Like, I get it, but that's not actually true, but it can become your truth if you're, you know, if you're believing it. So it really is like, when you're listening to yourself, it doesn't matter what things are flying at you from what angle, because they will be, especially if you're over 40. You're not, unfortunately, it is a rarity to meet a group of practitioners in one shot that are like, you totally can. I think the more that this kind of information is getting out there and cracking open, people are being more like, no, I need somebody who's on my team, who thinks I can do it, which is good. And I really hope it continues in that direction. But when we're looking for that validation outside of ourselves, it's never going to happen. So being in that trusting that A, I know what the hell I'm doing, and B, the universe knows what it's doing. There's some peace there. There's some, oh, I don't have to figure it all out. Because like you said, with that dream that you had, all that, like, I've got to pack, I've got to do all this stuff by myself. We do that. We take on a lot that we don't need to, you know? And so if we can look at this intuition journey as like, it could actually be a relief. I could actually take off this backpacking to Europe backpack that I have on filled with cinder blocks. I could take that off. How would that feel if I could? Oh my God. The ease of that, like, you know, like, feeling is so underrated in this journey. I think people would rather have action steps, you know, like, I'd rather take the supplement, eat the celery and whatever. But feeling into things, honestly, is going to get you way farther, you know, and not memorizing a list, but feeling this. How does this feel to do this next? You know, not should I do it, because should is obligation. On paper, it says I should do this. Doctor says I should do this. And so many of my clients have told me, yeah, the last 2 rounds of IVF I didn't want to do, but my husband did, or the doctor said. I'm like, well, that's why it didn't work. Because you weren't aligned with it. It's not that you either shouldn't do IVF or should do IVF or whatever, but you have to be aligned with whatever you're doing. If you sign up for IVF, you've got to be like, this is a leg up. This can aid me. This can give me a boost over the wall. You know, this is not going to give me my baby, but it can boost me. It can help me. Awesome. If you're like, I'm being forced to do this, maybe rethink it. Or put it on pause for now, you know? That's your intuition being, you know.
Not right now. That's not I like your visual of the next step on the pathway is going to light up, and that's where you go.
Yeah.
That's not lighting up right now. That's not lighting. So,
and I think when, you know, when you're ready, you find the right people. Like, I'm sure you've noticed this when clients come to you, they're at the point where they're like, I'm ready for this. You know, I'm ready to look at this aspect of it, you know, and maybe 2 years ago you weren't, and that's okay. It's not that you should have been ready 2 years ago. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're ready now. That's awesome.
That's it.
Move from there. Not from, oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know, what feels from here forward, you know.
Unless your goal is to feel stuck, then you can live from. Usually not, though.
That's the kicker with the brain, though, with that fight or flight response. It's like, it thinks it's helping you so much, and it thinks it's protecting you so much, and it's literally keeping you in a loop of lack. It's such a weird thing where we can know something cognitively and like, oh yeah, that would feel better, but I gotta hang on to it, you know. It's and so we have to be okay with that being an ugly process of you know, but most of us are hanging on to the bumper of a car as it's driving away, instead of realizing, oh, maybe it's not a car. It's less painful to not be dragged by said car, and maybe wait for the next car. You know.
And be like inside it.
Yeah, right. Way better than being dragged. Yeah, way less painful. And that's the thing. That's the thing with law of attraction too, is that we're not just burying our head in the sand and pretending things aren't happening. And we don't just have to like move for food and sex and just things that feel good for us. But we do want to move more toward things that feel good. If this feels soul crushing to me, like I think I don't know if that was the term you used in your book or not, but there was something to that effect. Like there were some things that were just like, then maybe we want to do something else. It's not that we only do the things that are easy, because we are here at Earth Camp to have contrast and to have challenge. And that's how we move through things. So again, it's not that everything's going to be all skipping through meadows, but we do have a choice in whether or not we suffer. We don't have necessarily a choice in the things that come in front of us, but what we do with that, we do have a choice there. And we just aren't taught how to do that. You know, like some of my clients the other day, they were like, why isn't this taught in school? Like, it would be a hell of a lot easier if we didn't have to hang on to these things or be in fear. You know, if we could just be like, this is a lesson. I need to get over that I can't control the timing of it, but I can do this. And here's the next step I'm going to take. That feels so much better than I've got to figure out how to wrangle the universe. That's really daunting, you know?
Oh my God, hello. But we try to do that when we're dealing with the fertility world. It's like, control all the things now. But
well, it's served us in every other area of our lives. In work, that's what happens. We do A plus B equals C. We don't take no for an answer. That works. It doesn't work in fertility though.
Complete opposite.
Yeah. And so we want to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say, we want to look at this as an opportunity rather than a prison sentence.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in fertility jail. That sucks. Totally get it. What if it were an opportunity for you to shed some of this control stuff and actually have an exponentially better life in general, and a little munchkin as well? But that's like the cherry on the sundae. It's not the sundae.
Yeah. And that's what your work and my work, it's beyond the fertility realm.
Yeah.
This is like life school kind of, right? Like, 'cause you can use this forever.
Well, and you had, when I was reading your book, like you had that realization, like this, I have to have like a life for me that like feels better regardless of this. And then once you did that, all these opportunities that were supposed to come in came in, you know, and when we're not being little salmon fighting our way upstream and we're just like, okay, I'm going to go with the current. That's super scary. And I get it, but that's where your ease comes from. That's when you start moving, you know, when you're not in resistance.
And then your, you know, higher intelligence or whatever, God, right, is like, finally, she's fucking ready. Okay, good. And then sends you the things.
There's a great meme that I saw, I think it was on Facebook a while ago. It's like this little kid on a roller coaster about to go over the edge, and the eyes are bugged out, his hair is back, and he's like, oh shit. And that's captioned like me. And then next to it is an older kid who's just smiling and looking at the kid, like my spirit guides. It's like, God, you are sitting in the sky. It's like, this is great. They're moving through it. And we're like, you know? And that's how it is. I hate roller coasters also, but we signed up to go to the amusement park. So let's make the best of it, shall we?
Make it. I happen to love roller coasters. Andrea, thank you so much. I really appreciate your insights. You're always so fun.
Welcome. Thank you. And I'm glad I got to actually see you this time instead of just over the thing.
Keep doing it this way.
Yeah.
Well, you're on my my list of more.
I'm in your Rolodex. Awesome.
Thank you so much. I hope
You're
to see
very
you
welcome.
in maybe less than a year from now.
Yes, and congrats on your book coming out.
Thank you. Thank you so much for reviewing it too. And,
all right.
P.S. Again, everybody, go get yours.
How to get pregnant, even when you've tried everything. A mind, body guide to fertility.
There's going to be linked up in the show notes.